College students are calling out Fordham University's president after she sent an email to the school community showing support for illegal immigrants as lawmakers signed the Laken Riley Act into law. Now, the new law was named after a college student who was murdered by an illegal immigrant that had been arrested several times and released back into the U.S. under parole with the Biden administration. Joining us now to discuss this is campus reform reporter and student at the University of Florida, Emily Sturge. Good morning, Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about what the Laken Riley Act does first. It mandates the federal detention of illegal migrants accused of theft, burglary, assaulting a law enforcement officer, and any other violent crimes. Talk about why this is so important for you specifically and other women, especially on college campuses.
Whether you're on the left or on the right, it's so refreshing to have a presidential administration back in office that clearly cares about the safety of Americans, especially young women. And it's very significant that the Laken Riley Act was the first signed piece of legislation from the 47th president. President Donald Trump signed the Laken Riley Act into law, which, like you mentioned, is a bipartisan measure that could have saved the life of 22-year-old Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The Trump administration has been effective. They've been immediate. They've been organized within the first few weeks of his administration to drastically improve our nation's safety and security. And it's giving college-age women like me peace of mind as we're walking on our campus, whether that's going to class or going on our runs like Laken Riley was.
This also triggered the president of Fordham University in New York, Tanaya Tetlow, to send an email to the entire school community expressing support for illegal immigrants. Tell me more about this email and what triggered such a vitriol response also from so many students.
At the Leadership Institute's campus reform, we reported that the president of Fordham University in New York sent this email to the school community expressing her support for illegal aliens amongst Trump's crackdowns on illegal immigration. And in that message, she expressed that the community should have empathy. She discussed the need for empathy for illegal immigrants, which leaves me as a young woman wondering, where was her empathy for victims like Laken Riley, like Jocelyn Nungare? It's a shame to see leaders of universities, of cities, of states prioritize criminals over the safety of students and Americans, especially young female students on college campuses.
Well, the one part of the email that really struck a chord with some students and riled up students was her comparison to illegal immigrants, that those illegal immigrants to Americans who lost everything. In fact, here is who lost everything in the hurricanes and wildfires. In fact, here's what she wrote. "We are reminded that we never know when we might be the ones wandering and displaced as we watch the fires in Los Angeles and the continued devastation of Hurricane Helene, humbly relying on your help." What's your reaction to this?
There is absolutely no comparison that can be made here between Americans struggling from natural disasters and criminals who have entered our country illegally and are threatening the safety of Americans. Americans in North Carolina and California, they've lost their homes, they've lost their lives, they've lost every single memory and photograph that they might have owned in their home. And with that in mind, this message from Fordham University's president just shows how out of touch she is with the sentiment of the American people.
What's your message right now to the president of Fordham?
Young women deserve safety on college campuses. I don't think that's very controversial, and their safety should be prioritized over political narratives. It's sickening to watch leaders like Fordham University's president or even Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker or Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. It's disgusting to see these leaders push back against President Trump's efforts to protect women and criminals.
Campus reform reporter and student at the University of Florida, Emily Sturge. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.